get there.
Well, you're a familiar face to most of the audience here. So if you would, just for those who aren't familiar, give us just a 30 seconds on your current or recent past position.
I am currently unemployed. I actually resigned the position I've had for the last 4 years. I was the district clerk for Collin County. I was appointed in December of 2011. I was in private practice as an attorney at that time, and we had a clerk at that time that had been removed from office, and I was called by our district judges and asked if I would step in and serve as a district clerk and try to right the ship, if you will, I guess, turn the Titanic a little bit. So I served as a district clerk for the last 4 years and resigned that position to run for this.
And the follow-up question obviously would be why? I mean, that was quite a position that you had there. And this is something I've asked each of the candidates is, was there a light bulb that came on? Were you cajoled or just, had a vision? What led you to wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to run for judge?
I would say I was maybe more cajoled to be the clerk than, than to be the judge. But I think this was more directly in line with kind of the path that I really had intended for my career. I really saw serving as a district clerk truly as that. It was a public service. It was not something that I had ever really set out to do. I was asked to do that and saw that as a service to the county. Like I said, I did 4 years doing that, and we kind of went paperless, and we did civil and criminal electronic filing, and the timing of this after the 4 years was kind of good to get back to the roots that I had in the law, and I've been passionate about it, and family law particularly was my area of practice, and it's the largest number of cases filed in Collin County, and so I saw it as a way that I could serve the county in a different way.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about that because, again, most people know about you in your role as district clerk. Tell us what actual law practice experience you've had prior to that prepares you for this position.
I've been practiced, I guess, almost 13 years before I took the job as district clerk. So I've been licensed going on 16 years now. And my practice was exclusively in the area of family law. So I did a very little bit of civil work when I very first got out of the law school. And some of the clerking that I did, I clerked for a district judge when I was in law school in civil. I also clerked for a federal judge, magistrate judge, when I was in law school, and that was also in civil. But all of the work that I have done since then, and since kind of right out of law school, has been in the area of family law.
Civil and criminal cases, what would prepare you to hear cases like that?
Other than basically, I think any attorney is qualified to do that. We were all licensed, we all took the bar exam. Our law school backgrounds do that. And so just a basic knowledge of the law, certainly those are areas that I would have to do a little bit more preparation in, having not practiced in them. Like I said, those are the smallest percentage of cases that we have. I was recently appointed in November by the governor to serve as the chair of the commission to review the penal laws, and so certain penal laws. So the commission that we're going to do this year, we're going to study this and make recommendations to the legislature for the next legislative cycle to determine which of the penal codes that we have that are outside, or penal laws that we have that are outside of the penal code, might need to be addressed. And so that's going to give me some good experience and some more familiarity with that. But I think one thing that's important for everybody to know is there is some adjustment that can be made to each of these courts. They are not necessarily set in stone. So while we have general jurisdiction courts in Collin County, they don't all have to hear all three kinds of cases. And so they can be tailored to the special practice area or interest area of the judges that take them. So if you had somebody like me that took the court that their experience was more in family law, then certainly the caseload could be adjusted to be more in line with that expertise and practice area.
Now, that commission that you were appointed to, how did that appointment come about?
That was a governor's appointment, and he appointed me to chair the commission.
And how did he find you, pick you, of all the universe of lawyers? He said, you're the one I want. How did that happen?
Well, I had, the commissioners actually added 2 new family courts, and those were, the judges for those courts were appointed by the governor. I had appointed for one, applied for the appointment to one of those courts. I did not receive that appointment from the governor. A few weeks after that, I received a call from his office and said they had this commission. I didn't apply for that, but they said that when they were discussing that, they had my application previously, and in discussing it, they thought that I would be a good fit for that, and they would ask me to consider doing that.
One of the questions that I've asked each of the candidates is about financing campaigns for judicial races, because as a citizen, somebody who might potentially be in front of a judge, it always feels kind of funny not knowing if the opposing attorney was a contributor to that judge, or if your own attorney was. What's your position on contributions to judicial campaigns, particularly from attorneys or law firms who might be hearing, or that you might be hearing cases represented by those attorneys or by those firms?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of an odd, because of the system we have in Texas where you have to elect the judges. And unfortunately, elections are expensive and they require money. The vast majority of the funding in my campaign has come from private citizens, and frankly, in smaller amounts, $1,500. So I think, in particular, in my case at least, I don't think that would necessarily be an issue. I don't have particularly large donations or from law firms. I'm excited that and proud to say that most of my support comes from just private citizens, but I know that that's a concern for people.
Any particular endorsements that you've received that you're especially proud of that you'd like to let people know about?
We're still a little bit early in this process. A lot of the groups are still interviewing people, but I am pleased to have been endorsed by one of y'all's speakers a couple weeks ago, Kathy Adams from Texas Eagle Forum. She's a former chair of our state party. And I also have received the endorsement of Jody Rushton, who's the immediate past president of the Texas Federation of Republican Women. That's the organizational, I guess, parent group for all of the Republican women's clubs in the state of Texas.
Okay, good. Conservatism. Everyone campaigns as a constitutional conservative. A lot of folks who actually ask them what does that mean, or what defines a conservative, what makes you uniquely a conservative. Sometimes the answers are a little unexpected. How do you define being a conservative, constitutional or not? And how do you think that would be applicable to your work as an attorney, or as a judge?
I think I have an understanding of the Tea Party principles that I think are important to all of us. I've been coming to these meetings for 4 or 5 years now, and I understand all of the principles and agree with them completely. In fact, a lot of them have been kind of cornerstones of my own life in terms of things like personal responsibility and fiscal responsibility. I supported myself through my undergrad and my law degree, working full-time. In fact, this couple of months that I've been unemployed working on this campaign is the longest time since I was about 12 that I haven't had a job. It's kind of weird. And so those are the things, to me, conservatism are the kind of bedrock principles of your life. And a lot of that comes from my faith, growing up at First Baptist Church in Dallas. And those are the things that kind of you build upon from a very early age and continue to bring with you. And I don't think you leave those founding and guiding principles of your own life behind when you take the bench. I think you take those with you.
Perfect. Questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
How do you feel about Judge Oldner's actions in the Paxton matter?
We have, there were some things that Judge Oldner and I did and had some interaction with my office that we disagreed on in terms of, that went outside of the way that the procedures for handling indictments and turning those over to our office were handled. I honestly don't have a comment necessarily. I don't handle grand jury matters. I haven't had to present anything to the grand jury, so I don't have a comment on that. But what I can comment on is that I did have to take some action within my office because there were some things that were done that didn't comply with the procedures that we normally take within the district clerk's office. And there were some disciplinary actions that we had to take within my office. So I was put in an uncomfortable position within our office because of that. But that was dealing directly with my office. And I don't have the experience or enough facts to make a determination about the grand jury matters or anything else specifically in that case. So, and it's frankly still under investigation too, so I don't think any of us have all of the facts yet.
Yeah, those are the kind of questions that make running for judge interesting. And, those of you that know much of the, even just the recent history of some of the judicial intrigue that's going on in Collin County, I'll admit, in case anyone's curious, you can tell that I deliberately didn't ask a lot of those real political hot potato questions, in part because as an outsider, it's very difficult to have enough awareness of the facts of the case to ask all those questions fairly and not have someone afterwards come up and say, well, why did you ask that person about that case that got overturned? Why did you ask them about, that ruling that went against them or that disciplinary action that was taken against one of their employees? I'll leave that for the Facebook campaign. We try to keep it a little higher plane here. But Andre, thank you very much for coming back in. Enjoyed having you here this evening. Thanks.